Spock maintains his weight within a variance of 1.8 kilograms. Wormholes are notoriously unstable, and safe is Ortegas's middle name. Or was it danger? Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Seventh Rule with Sirach Lofton.
Hello. Hello.
My name is Ryan T. Husk, and today we're doing a review of Star Trek Strange New Worlds, Season 3, Episode 9 already, Terrarium, written by Alan B. McElroy, directed by Andrew Coots. Special thanks to Dave Gregory and Chris Garris for sponsoring this entire season of Strange New Worlds. How are you doing today, Sirach?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. Can you hear me? Can you see me?
We can hear you. We can see you. It's kind of a little different. I mean, it's kind of a slightly different sound that I'm used to. It feels weird. It feels like if I'm trying to, cut something with scissors with my left hand or something. Although I think you're left-handed, so maybe that's normal for you.
Not for scissors. No.
Really?
I'm left-handed for dribbling, just dribbling basketball.
Dude, I'm only left-handed for one thing, too.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, whatever. I'm not. I'll tell you off. It's not that bad. It's not that bad. It's just
Okay. All right.
Anyway, so this episode, I can't believe, first of all, that this is already the penultimate episode. We have one episode left. I thought there might be some kind of continuation from this episode into episode 10, but nope, this is a standalone, kind of its own thing. By the way, everybody, please make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon for notifications, and if you're listening in, give us a 5-star rating and a nice review. We'd really appreciate that. Sirach, those were my expectations coming in. Did you have any thoughts or expectations coming in?
With this season, it's been a little bit all over the place. So it's been hard to kind of predict exactly what this season's main, story arc is.
Mm-hmm.
They dance us around. For example, in the beginning of this episode, they went to the other scenes where we saw Ortega's kind of looking in the mirror and seeing that Gorn in the reflection, and
right,
being haunted by this Gorn past, that was behind her, and also the interaction with Una, kind of questioning whether she was still able to do her job. So they refreshed us with that. And that is an interesting storyline because I've been wondering where they are going with that for a while. We saw, the Gorn as the big kind of alien of season 2. I feel like that was their whole big season 2 setup. And now in season 3, the remnants of that is, one, Ortega's having this, Gorn infliction or whatever. She's post-traumatic Gorn stress disorder. and then you've got Pike's girl, right? She's also
Patel, right?
Patel. She's also dealing with Gorn-related symptoms, right?
Right. And La'an grew up fighting them and hating them and running from them and stuff like that too. So that's already 3 of them that are powerfully traumatized by the Gorn.
Yeah. So I was thinking that we would get a little bit more closure on what the meaning of these things is, for these characters. Is this something that's going to be ongoing and haunting them? Is this something that is going to be resolved? Is this the end of Ortega's, for example, having her Gorn flashbacks or Gorn mirror horror moments? I don't know.
Right, probably.
Wasn't clear for me whether this was like the full closure on that or not.
Right. I heard that when a Gorn walks into a bar, everybody goes, Gorn! Okay. Just thought of that. Just kind of hit me. The
Yeah,
Cheers thing.
that's a Cheers joke.
Yeah,
There we go.
but the last Cheers joke maybe I'll make for this episode. But yeah, I do think that that's probably a good suspicion. Is that I don't think Ortegas is going to have that haunting Gorn imagery in the back of her mind anymore, because that's kind of been broken to her. Like, she no longer probably thinks of the Gorn as some monolithic, evil, all bad, only bad, all the time bad alien race. Now she thinks of them as, well, maybe they're individuals. Maybe we're not as different as I thought, and so on and so forth. The same thing. Look, here's the thing. Here's the thing. Pause. Hit the pause button. This is what Star Trek has done with every single bad guy ever that I can think of. Klingons, they were bad. And then, they got better and better. Then we get Worf, and then we get Gowron and Martok and Sorella, and we start liking them all. And Klingons are great. Then it was the Ferengi, and the Ferengi got softened and softened, and now we love Quark and Rom and Nog and Brunt FCA, you know. And then we had the Borg, Borg. And then even in Picard, they're like, well, some Borg are actually good, and Dr. Agnes is gonna, you know, watch the wormhole for us or something like that, right? So, and I'm making light of it, but this is actually a good thing. You know, like I'm joking about it, but this is a good theme to have. So I knew that they were going to eventually do this with the Gorn as well, because Star Trek never just has a bad alien forever. They want to give it more depth. You know, this is a good thing. This is what you're supposed to do. Even the Jem'Hadar, they start off as just this big bad monster, and then they made some friends, and they found out that they were being abused and, you know, taken advantage of, and, you know, some had tried to escape, and Bashir and O'Brien became friends with them, and then Bashir had a Jem'Hadar kid. But anyway, so this is what I expected with the Gorn, and this was the first episode. Did I say that right? Bashir didn't have a kid with a Gorn or with for the Jem'Hadar, but this was the first episode where we finally got a glimpse into that theme, which is, hey, yeah, they're at war. Yeah, they look different and they look scary, but at the end of the day, Ortegas is one individual, and the Gorn lady was one individual, and they both just proved that they can just be their own person and they can get along and work together. And it was what at least I think what most of us expected. But any thoughts on that, Sirach? Because I got a lot.
Yeah, I mean, you know, if I'm not mistaken, you know, the Gorn wasn't shown for a while on the show. They kind of you know, hid the Gorn behind its veil, and they just suggested at it. And the more they did that, the bigger the enemy appeared to be. Right? It's like it's like the Wicked Witch of the West. If you don't actually see it, it actually seems scarier than it is.
Totally.
And I feel like the Gorn is like that as well. I feel like the mystique of the Gorn is better than actually seeing the Gorn. Because when you actually see the Gorn, and, you know, like for this episode, the Gorn started to look like Alf. You know,
like Scott Bakula.
And so it became less less intimidating as the scenes go on. You know what I mean? It becomes something that's more likable or relatable or acceptable, and it goes from being like an alien versus predator type, you know, character that's just imposing and fearful to something that you kind of fall asleep around. So they actually softened up the Gorn in this episode, and I was going to say to that point that just like a lot of these villains in Star Trek, when you get them isolated away from their group,
Yeah.
they become less, intimidating. A Klingon by himself is less intimidating than a group of Klingons, or any other group, any other species that we've come across, and so when the Gorn are in masses, then yeah, they feel more intimidating than it's more fearful there. But when you're dealing with one, you isolate it down to one, as they did in this case. It does allow you to have that kind of moment where you can digest some of the behavioral patterns, get some of the tone for who it is as a person or as an entity, and you start to relate to it a lot more because it's in an isolated, less combative scenario.
That's kind of how people are too. There's a saying, I wish I could cite the quote. I don't remember who said it, but the quote is, people are dumb, but a person is smart. And really what that means is like when the mob mentality is dumb. But when you pull somebody out of the mob mentality, you can find that there's common ground, there's intelligence to be found there almost without fail. And an individual, you can have a better conversation with an individual than you can with a mob. So that's pretty cool. Now, look, there was one other thing when I'll save it for after the break later, but there was immediately when Ortega's landed and she said, "Oh, a neighbor," something like that. Maybe even before that, but right away I thought, this is the same storyline as my favorite sci-fi movie ever. And it's been done and redone, and I don't think that's a bad thing. I think it's a story that is told all the time and needs to be told. So we're not going to take our break yet. So everybody in the comments below and in the live chat, make your predictions. What is that sci-fi movie that this was just like or reminded me of? But anyway, one thing I did notice though, that I feel like we notice this every week, was just how beautiful and amazing these sets were. These exterior sets, which I'm sure were not exterior, right? But their soundstage, their set is so huge that
Yes.
it feels exterior. But we know it's not. We know there's fog machines going, there's fans going, there's a big giant set with things hanging, there's the VR wall doing the background, and it's this gigantic thing, and you would swear you're watching something outside, right?
Yeah, the advantages of the VR wall. I wish we had that on our show,
Yeah.
because it would just take everything just up a notch, like to a high level degree. And it's funny because a while ago, this is I'm going to say 20 years ago, I thought of an idea of building an actual holodeck. And it's like, well, you could technically build one with a bunch of touch screen LCD screens, and you could have space out there, and you can zoom in on space moving in and out, and essentially create a holodeck, which I'm sure now they've done by now, because this was a long, long time ago. But and what they have done with the VR wall is actually create, to some degree, a holodeck. That is a program that allows them to transport themselves to any time and place. And if you match the scenery with the backdrop, the foreground, then you're instantly, transported. So they've actually, for all intent and purposes, created a real life working holodeck in order to film these episodes, and it just makes it that much more spectacular when you watch it.
Yeah, there was something done, and I don't remember where it was, but some people, some engineers, scientists put together a thing where there's like these beads on the floor, right? Like this apparatus where when you walk on it, you're not actually going anywhere. And then you can turn and do this and go that way, and you're walking, but the beads keep rearranging, right? So you keep going the same. And that's what you would need for that holodeck, because then you've got that 360 surround visual and you feel like you're walking, and then you can have the thing adjusting to you walking and you're just forever going. And so now it's not just like, like a screen, it's like this unlimited thing that you can do. And I'm sure that's in the works, is combining the two technologies. So, and by in the works, I mean, it's probably already done somewhere,
Yeah.
So it's really cool. I love it. We basically talk about it every week. Now, another thing is people have been screaming for a long time now saying they want more Ortegas, right? They want more Ortegas. And in season 2, we got more, but we didn't get much. And I remember the writers saying a couple years ago, don't worry, you'll get more. We got something coming. We got something coming. And I'm sure that this was the episode they were talking about, because a couple of years ago they were writing this episode, So this was the episode they were talking about. She got to have her big moment. This is an Ortegas episode. Other episodes had Ortegas moments and Ortegas subplots, and Ortegas is also there kind of stuff. She's been around. But this is, to me, the first Ortegas is the main character. The story is her story. Am I getting that wrong? 29 episodes in?
I would agree with that. I don't recall seeing her featured in an episode this much. Yeah, I would agree with that.
Okay. So what that means is, everybody, you got your wish. You got your Ortegas episode. And look, It's tough to give everybody an episode all the time, because it feels like we should get a lot of episodes, because Deep Space Nine had a lot of O'Brien episodes and a lot of Dax episodes, and Next Generation got a lot of Riker episodes and Data episodes. But here's the difference. There's only 29 episodes so far. It feels like we've seen a lot.
Yeah,
we've seen basically
one season.
Exactly. We've basically seen one season. Plus, they have like 9 main type characters. So it's kind of tough. Everybody's gotten 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 episodes, and a lot of it's ensemble stuff. But I don't know. Were you happy with it?
There's things that I think they could have done better in this episode. I'll get into a lot of those things on the other side of the break, But I'm happy with them giving Ortegas more to do. That I'm happy with. But there's some things that I felt were just not up to par, as far as making it very like an excellent episode. This was decent, but not in the upper echelon of excellence that Strange New Worlds usually delivers on their shows, especially coming up to the last episode of the season. So I'm really hoping that this is one of those moments where they kind of see, this looks like a bottle episode because they didn't really do too much. It feels like a bottle episode to some degree, but maybe it's not, but because of the makeup and stuff. But it really didn't have much to it. A little campsite, little Bourne campsite. It felt like it was relatively budget-wise on the lower side of things, right?
That's interesting, because I wouldn't have thought that because of how big and beautiful the scale was. But when you mention it, you're probably right. It's just this VR wall that makes it seem like we've got this thing on this huge, grand, amazing scale. But yeah, when you think about it, really, that was just,
it's
one.
A tent.
Yeah.
It's a campsite.
Yeah. It's a cave. They do like their caves in Star Trek.
Okay. Yeah, it's a cave. It's a cave. Yeah, it's a nice little campsite cave, and pretty much everything takes place in that area. I mean, in that that space.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, look, were there things that I liked about it? Yes. Were there things that I felt like could have been better? Yes. Um, Now you mentioned stuff that it's like. I'm gonna say on the other side of the break what I think it's like.
Ooh, this
We
is
both
getting
got
so fun. I love
yeah.
this. And
We
all
got both
right,
got things.
it
Yeah.
is about time to take our break. So everybody make your guesses. Also, I forgot this also, there was one moment that I will say was a direct homage to another movie, not a sci-fi movie, but a direct homage to it. And I think it was intentional, and I think it was done, out of respect for a great movie. So we will take a quick break,
Wow.
everybody. I know, I know,
We've got teasers. We got teasers
I
today.
know. All right, everybody, we will take our break and we'll be back in 4 weeks with those answers. I'll be right
Right
back
after the strike.
on the seventh rule.
Uh,
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the seventh rule with Sir Rock frickin' Lofton, everybody.
Hello.
Here are the trivioids of the week. There's a parsec of space with gravity wells so odd even Spock can't figure it out. Ortegas is going to get so much data, actually I think she said data, it's going to be coming out of Spock's ears. Spock maintains his weight within a variance of 1.8 kilograms, which is like a little bit more than, 3 pounds. Safe is Ortegas' middle name, or was it Danger? Starfleet Survival 101 says you need water, shelter, and food if you're stranded on an enemy planet. Wormholes are notoriously unstable. Ortegas plays chess with a Gorn and loses 3 times in a row. You play chess, Sirach?
I do play chess. Yeah.
I had a feeling you're a chess player. You want to go to like Rucker Park and play chess, I think. The
Yeah, no,
Hustlers.
I started a chess club in my school back in the day, Fairfax Chess Club.
Badass.
But yeah, that's funny because you mentioned one of my big pet peeves of this episode. But go ahead, I'll let you finish your intro.
Whoa, too many teases. All right. Okay. So I'll give you the small one. Oh, wait, what's your guess to the movie?
E.T.
E.T. Phone Home.
E.T. Phone Home? No?
Survey says. Okay, now if I were Steve Harvey, I would turn it into something, make it seem like you said something nasty. Oh, he said E.T. We're asking 100 people, and Saragwa said E.T. So anyway, the answer is, well, first I'll tell you the direct homage was Castaway with Tom Hanks. Great movie, unbelievable. When he made fire, and he goes, I have made fire, right? Ortegas makes water, and she goes, I have made water. It was very similar. It was a similar kind of breakthrough, beautiful moment, and you feel the emotion in both of them, and it's a perfect moment in both of them, and we're with you all the way, and we're like, yes, if I was able to make fire on a deserted island, or if I were able to make water on a BS planet with giant centipedes, I'd feel pretty freaking amazing and carnal about it. Anyway, so the movie,
Yeah.
my favorite sci-fi movie ever, I saw it when I was a kid, way back in the day, still holds true. Actually, I believe it's being remade right now. And that movie is Enemy Mine. Great movie. Dennis Quaid, Louis Gossett Jr., and it was just like, it's just that typical story that we've seen a bunch of times of like, this enemy and this enemy are stranded together, and it turns out that we can get along, that this is just a person and this is just a person, whether it's the French and the English, or whether it's, whatever the human was and the monster was back then. I think they were called like Drax or something. Or whether it's, human and Gorn, This was like an Enemy Mine story. And Enemy Mine, in the comments below, everybody let us know what you thought of that movie, because I think it's the best ever. And it is being remade right now. I think it's going to be done in like next year. Anyway.
Never saw Enemy Mine.
I know. I'm sad because when I said that, you were like, okay. If you had seen it, you'd be like, yep.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I never saw it. So I couldn't relate to you on that. I was just, I know of the movie. I think the title is what made it not be as big as it could have been.
Yeah. Well, you know who is actually remaking it, if I remember correctly. Let me show you the quickly this here. Here's what it was. So clearly one is a human, the other one is a Gorn or Drac or whatever it was, right? And Terry Metalis has been hired to remake this movie, which is freaking amazing. Can't wait for that.
Yeah, I keep hearing Terry Metalis. Isn't he doing X-Men too or something like that?
Yeah, he's doing Vision Quest with Todd Stashwick acting in it.
Well, I wish him the best success. Of course, he's given us one of the best seasons of Star Trek in recent years with that Picard season 3. But yeah, no, I thought of a different Star Trek episode. I thought this was Strange New Worlds. This could have been, and this is where I feel like it fell short.
Can I guess yours?
Yes. Yes.
Darmok.
Yes.
Yes. That's so good.
Yes.
You're right.
This could have been Strange New Worlds Darmok.
That kind of was, in a way.
It was in a way, kind of, yes, but it wasn't done as well. Yeah, it wasn't done as well for me. And I was a little bit. I just felt like it was too easy. Too easy. Didn't Picard fight with the other guy in Darmok?
Yeah, Captain Dathon. Yeah. And then they also fought like a monster. But that's kind of what these two did. I'll tell you the one thing that was similar in that way was the communication barrier, right?
Yes,
now,
communication barrier.
Now, in TNG, that was the big aha moment, was the communication barrier being solved. In this one, it was solved earlier on, and it wasn't going to be a direct copy. It was like the agree, disagree, agree. And I kind of started liking that voice. I was like, boy, I sure am. Like, I like how pleasant the agree is and how sassy the disagree is. But yeah, that's where the similarities end. Yeah.
That's where the similarities end. And it could have went a little bit farther to be something where, you see, when you have agreed and disagreed, I lose sense of what the Gorns is and thinks and dreams and who they are identity-wise, and Ortega's wasn't asking those kinds of questions, like, are you just trying to kill all the people, like,
disagree,
right? Like, do the Gorn have feelings, or like just basic questions about the Gorn in general, that would have been nice to know. But here's where I was just like a little bit out of it. The timeline of events didn't work out for me, and they needed to explain that. What they should have said was, time in this wormhole functions differently than time.
I noticed that too. I was
Okay.
like, was that really just 1 or 2 days that went by? Because they made it seem like it had been weeks easily.
Because first of all, she's like, I'm dying of hunger. I'm like, you just crash landed. Like, chill out.
Yeah, and she taught the Gorn how to play chess.
Yes.
And played a few times.
Yes.
And the Gorn got good enough to beat her. That doesn't happen overnight.
Yes. And so that's where time was. I was looking at it like, where's the sense of urgency? if I crash land my plane, I'm trying to repair my plane. I mean,
Yeah.
no, number one thing is the ship needs to be repaired, right? Or I have to get a signal out to the people who could come rescue me. So it's one or the other. But I didn't see any emphasis on repairing the ship or salvaging parts from the ship. I'm pretty sure the ship, even though if it was destroyed, you would still have salvageable parts for whatever you need, shelter, for whatever it is, right? For weapons, there would be something.
Hmm.
And then why wouldn't you shelter in the ship? Like I would shelter in the ship. I wouldn't be walking around looking for caves when I have a perfectly good ship with a bed and everything else in it and a water maker, right? So it seems weird to just leave your ship to go hunting for a cave or for food in the first day that you crash. So the time is what messed me up. And
Yeah.
then they're playing chess 3 or 4 times. Like, well, don't you got to get out of here at some point? Or so,
Yeah, I wonder
yeah,
if there was like some kind of time thing that we missed because, well, the other thing was I'm like, why are you going to poke a hole in your window of your shuttlecraft first thing? I'd be like, I'm keeping everything closed and sealed and I'm using the door. I'm not going to poke a hole in that thing in case I need to go back in and go to sleep and it gets really cold at night. I'm going to be pissed off at myself for having broken that window 2 hours earlier. I'll be like, what have
yeah,
I done? Why did I do that?
yes,
but,
yes,
but yeah, I think that this episode, like I said, was kind of an homage to other things. And I think that's where it went. And now we have a different understanding of the Gorn. And although I will tell you where I was wrong, because I made a lot of predictions. I love to be like, I'm smarter than I can predict things, but then I'm always wrong. Um, and where I was wrong was I thought that the Gorn lady was going to sacrifice herself
me
to
too,
save Ortegas.
me too,
And I was so sure of it.
me
I
too.
thought that the plan wasn't going to work. And then they're like, no, we got to do this. Disagree, And then the Gorn would push her and ignite the thing, and the Gorn would die, and she'd be saved, or something like that. And then we'd be like,
Yes,
wow, see, they're not so bad after all. Or she'd have like a
yes,
baby, you know. But I was wrong,
yeah,
and I'm glad to be wrong because we want to be surprised. We want to see something new and something interesting. And I think La'an killing the Gorn was a good surprise, was a good thing, because now is there going to be resentment between the two? I don't know, but that's going to be really interesting to find out.
yeah. I like that twist actually because I did expect the exact same thing. I was
Yeah,
like, oh, this fire needs to be lit at a certain moment, and
yeah,
the person who lights that fire is basically sacrificing themselves, right? And so that I was like, oh, this is perfect, for the Gorn to be the hero. But it didn't work out that way. I also thought the Gorn was protecting a kid of some sort, like a baby or something. Like either the Gorn was pregnant or the Gorn had a baby, like an egg somewhere that it was
yeah.
getting ready to hatch. I thought that as well. And then I was also thinking, how long had that Gorn been in there? Like there was no explanation on that. How did the Gorn get in there? How long was that Gorn in there?
Well,
Uh,
maybe that was the Metrons. Those were the Metrons at the very end. By the way, the Metrons were introduced in the original series in the episode The Arena. Um, And also, I think they were mentioned in Discovery. Let me check. I think they were brought back or mentioned or shown in Discovery. Let me see. Yeah, I see it here. He knew the DMA that had nothing to do with the Metrons. Okay, so that was just kind of like a minor mention. But anyway, so that's what they are. They're kind of like, and the Metrons were in the episode where Kirk is stranded on the planet and fights the what? The Gorn.
oh,
So in
okay.
other words, they did it once, and now they did it again later in the original series, later in their timeline. So there's kind of like a little connection there for the original series fans.
Okay, so a little bit of the original series, a little bit of Darmok, and a little bit of Enemy Mine.
Mm-hmm.
Mix it all together. You know, here's the other thing that bothered me. There was a couple of things that I felt like these are tropes that we've seen before with Star Trek. The whole there is a group of people that need the vaccine, and we have the vaccine to give to them because the pandemic is hitting them, and if we don't get the ship over there, they won't receive the supplies they need.
4,000 people are going to die for one.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like I've heard this.
Spock should have said his thing.
Fascinating.
The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, I feel like they've used this thing before because it's fascinating.
Yeah. He's like, "Huh? You're gonna make a mistake again." Fascinating.
Yeah. Fascinating. Every time we have a life-saving vaccine or a cure for some people, there seems to be a dilemma that keeps us from being able to deliver it on time. It's always the same kind of like, because they have to have some imaginary counter risk to the thing, right? Like an urgency, a sense of urgency, right? And so they like, how do we manufacture this urgency? To me, the wormhole closing is enough of an urgency, but I don't see why you need another urgency of these starving kids who need vaccines. And it's like, seriously, we haven't figured out how to beam technology over, there's no cargo freight that happens to be delivering these things for medical purposes, or like literally a medical vessel only designated for this, instead of the warship that goes around protecting everything. Like, does that make sense for our stealth bomber to also be the one that delivers food for starving people?
Yeah, they drop a bomb of food on them. That's
yeah.
Well, a lot of times it's proximity. It's whoever's closest, I guess. I don't remember if they mentioned that in this episode, but that's always what I'm thinking is, they're the closest, so they're the ones that are going to do it. But I do want to point out, we're already almost out of time, but I do want to point out that I thought personally that the directing was gorgeous, because it's not easy to have scenes where really only one person's talking without it seeming weird or forced or contrived, because the person by herself needs to be talking throughout so that the audience is entertained, so that the audience knows what's going on, so that we can follow along, so we don't drift off. But if there's just a person talking to herself constantly, normally it's going to be boring to watch. So, and a lot of that is on Melissa Navia for performing it well, but a lot of it also is on the directing. You got to give us fresh shots and beautiful things to see, and give notes to the actor of like, this is a scene where, you really got to give us big emotion or whatever it is. So that really shined through for me, because I put myself in the director's shoes and was like, ooh, this could be a tough one. And it's a tough one for the actor too. It's a tough one for Melissa Navia when you're looking and you're just seeing, okay, here's my line, 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 like over and over again with nobody to work against. And then when you do have someone to work against, it's just a giant puppet, basically. Like it's not easy. So big shout out to both of them for what they achieved in this episode, I think.
Yeah. And the other star was the Gorn. So that was the Gorn star.
The Gorn, although I was trying to figure out who was in there. I don't know if they've said yet. I don't know if it said it in the end credits. I should have checked that. I was thinking it might be like Ava Blackwell, or somebody who worked in Discovery like her. Let me check. Yeah. Maybe it'll say.
Yeah, because you assumed that there was an actor inside of makeup with that.
Yeah, sure. Oh, definitely. Because the way it was moving, yeah. the way it was
Okay.
moving and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think it's at points there were, yes. Yeah, I would say that. Yeah.
So, I guess what that means is while I check that, it's time for the home run of today's episode. Sirach Lofton, who gets the home run of today's episode?
I'm going to go for the less obvious pick on this one, actually. I'm going to go for somebody who you always kind of sing their praises.
I know where you're going.
I saw it this time as well. Celia Rose Gooding does some amazing stuff. It's very subtle. You can overlook it if you're not paying attention to it, but it's so natural. It's so it feels authentic. It feels like she's a good person, and she's very sensitive to people's feelings, and I just love her performance. She just has these very subtle nuances that shine. And in this one, I thought when she told Spock, "Hey, look, I'm going to still be looking for her, and if you don't want to help, you could just don't have to be here. You don't have to sit.
You can fuck off.
you don't you don't sit over my shoulder and tell me how it's not going to work."
Yeah. Lieutenant Naysayer he was.
Yeah, but the way she said it was very well delivered. I thought it was awesome. And I also like the moment when she comes up to Pike and basically was about to reveal that she fudged the numbers, but he kind of beat her to the punch. Another special moment I like between the two of them. So yeah, Celia Rose Gooding, sleeper in this. I know it's a one-man show, and I picked somebody who's not the one man, but I thought she just had some very good moments here, and it let me know how much she cares about her fellow crew people.
Surprise, surprise, I'm going to agree with you there because Celia Rose Gooding gives us so much with every performance. And this one, she was the second main character in this episode, so it's not a gigantic stretch, but I caught myself. And this is always a big compliment to the actor when I do this. When an actor delivers a line in a different but interesting way, in a way that I wouldn't have thought of by seeing it on the page. And so I catch myself pausing it and delivering that same line the way she did. Where, if they say whatever it is, the dog is hungry, but they say the dog is hungry or whatever it is, I pause it and I try to deliver it like that because I'm learning something. I'm like, wow, that was a really interesting move and it was good. And I want to kind of feel that out and experience it a little bit more. And she gave me a couple of those in this episode. So yes, big. And she's just got these expressive eyes and she just knows how to emote and knows how to give just the right amount of what we need for that character to be real and to be good and to make us feel something. So big money on Celia Rose Gooding. Here are some other people that make us feel something, and that feeling is gratitude. Their names are Dr. Anne-Marie Siegel, Eve England out in Wales, Yvette Blackman Tom, TJ Jackson Bay out in Missouri, Titus Muller, Dr. Muhammad Noor, Anil O. Palat, Joe Balsarati, Mike Gu, Dr. Stephanie Baker, Carrie Schwent, Faith Howell, the Matt Boardman, Chris McGee, Jake Barrett, Henry Unger, Allison Leachhide, Julie Manasfi, Jed Thompson, Dr. Susan V. Gruner, Glenn Iverson, Dave Gregory, who also sponsored this entire season. Chris Sternett, Greg K. Wickstrom, Cassandra G., Chuck A., Chris Garris, who also sponsored this entire season, and of course, Jason M. Oken. All right, everybody, we will see you next time. We'll see you in New Jersey if you're out in the New Jersey, New York area. Yeah. And until then, always remember the seventh rule.